Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing, Monday, November 18th, 2024. And first of all, yesterday, I'll get to the boxing in a minute by the way. Yesterday, look at the weather forecast, because I was going to wash my car. We'll look for the weather forecast, looked on there every day, high teens, low 20s, whatever it is. Sunny, 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 sunny. All right, well, I'll go wash my car. And I'll not just wash it, I'll spend the $18 or $16 and I'll get it done right. I'm going overseas on Wednesday, so we'll treat the car to a good wash. Well, guess what's happening at the moment, or it's just happened? It is raining. You just love it. And not just raining. It's been that annoying rain, spitting almost, where it's just enough to cover your car with a nice layer of water. And then of course the dust comes along and you get a nice little layer of mud and dirt on your car. So good start today. Now having said that, now the sun is actually coming out and I'm sure it'll be a beautiful day, and we'll just have that 1 minute of rain that'll just ruin the $16 or $18, whatever it was that I just spent on my car. I'm sure you've all been there before, but anyway, you got to laugh. All right, on to the boxing. Now, big weekend for boxing actually. Of course we had the fight that shall not be mentioned ever again. Well, I am going to mention it just slightly today, but on Saturday. And then we had the Latino night card yesterday from Riyadh, which was a really good card. We'll sort of get into that as well. And also now I have to apologise to Floyd Masson. I forgot that he was fighting Matus Mastanak over the weekend, so apologies for that. I didn't even give it a mention. I haven't seen the fight yet. He was beaten by, it was either a split decision or a very, very close decision by all accounts. Could have gone either way, and to the point where Floyd might have even got the decision. So that's a great effort. Of course, Mastanak beat Jason Waitley, what was it, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, and pretty much ended Jason's career. So Floyd's gone over there, put on a great show, and I wouldn't have expected anything less if I'm being honest. Floyd Masson always comes to fight. He would be a handful for absolutely anyone, and that's at anyone at the world level. I mean, whether he's up to the standard of those other cruiserweights out there as far as talent goes is one thing, but you know, every time you fight him, doesn't matter who you are, he's going to give you a fight. He's going to be in your face all night. He's never going to give up. And I've always liked Floyd Masson, and hopefully he comes back. I'm sure he will. It's not like he was sort of pounded into submission or stopped, anything like that. He lost a close decision. So let's hope Floyd Masson keeps going. I will probably, if I get a chance, I'll try and catch that today on YouTube if it's there. So again, apologies to Floyd. And geez, I would have thrown a cat amongst the pigeons if he had got up, wouldn't it? Being a cruiserweight here with, of course, Jai Opetaia. Jai's obviously got some big fights lined up potentially, but geez, it would have been a big all Aussie fight, wouldn't it, if Floyd Masson had got over the line yesterday and maybe got himself world ranked in the IBF and he could have got a shot at Jai. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe down the track, you never know. But I was just listening to Barry Michael on SEN just as I was walking. Before I start recording, I just chucked the earpiece in and put the radio on for something to listen to while Neil's doing his thing all over the place, and it was interesting to hear his thoughts on the fight on the weekend. I think he's look, they don't give him a lot of time on things like the radio station. He doesn't get a platform like I've got here where he can talk for 20 minutes about it. They give him a short window, and he's got to be quick with his answers, I suppose. But he just, look, his overall outlook was, like we've all said, it was a rort. The only things he did say that I might, just maybe slightly disagree with, but maybe have a reply to, he said, well, first of all, he thinks that Mike Tyson was pretty much told not to go for the knockout over Jake. Jake, in turn, was told maybe not to put him away if need be, or if he could later in the fight. I mean, lots of little conspiracy theories like that. And I know even there's been, in the past, I didn't even mention this the other day, even with the contracts of it, there were rumours that, lots of things come out at this stage, by the way, and I promise I won't spend too much time on it, but it has to be spoken about because everyone else is. And there was a couple of comments yesterday saying, why are you giving it airtime? Well, it just happened to be the biggest boxing event of the year, no matter what you thought of it as far as numbers and eyes on it. 60 million viewers live on Netflix, if you can believe that. 60 million at one time. Just get your head around that for a second. But there was rumours, there was leaks of the contracts that if Mike got him out of there in the first round, he wouldn't get paid at all. If it was the second round, it'd be a little bit, and then as the further the fight went on, the more he would get paid. I don't believe that. I really don't. Look, even if it was true, I don't think, no matter what Mike did, he was knocking Jake out on Saturday. It was just as simple as that. I mean, he was, well, as we said, he was just a shot fighter, and it showed. Simple as that. Now, the argument came up, or not the argument, but the suggestion came up, not just that fight in general, but Barry was asked about the UFC versus boxing. Now, there was a massive show yesterday. I didn't watch it. I'm not really a UFC, well, I'm not a UFC guy. I might watch it if one of the Aussies are on there, Volkanovski or Whittaker, or, you know, maybe if Conor McGregor. I'm probably what would be regarded as the casual. We talk about boxing terms. When it comes to the UFC, I'm a casual, because I might get one a year if I'm lucky to watch it. I've been a few times, 3 or 4 times, and I love the event, but the fighting's not for me. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If you like it, then that's great. But the suggestion was brought up about is UFC overtaking boxing, especially in light of what happened on Saturday. Now, Barry replied yes, by the way. He said, yeah, he's concerned about the state of boxing. UFC, their events are big. They get a lot of numbers there, and the pay-per-view numbers and all that sort of stuff. But my argument with that, first off, to Barry would be, and I know they put him on the spot. He's got to reply pretty quick. But my argument with that, I'm not worried about that at all. Now, UFC is obviously a massive, massive sport now. It's almost like the real life version of WWE. It's run the same way. One big organisation, one champion. They can work out who's fighting who a long way out, and it's just done. That's just the way it is. And whereas boxing, of course, all this bloody bullshit with lead-ins and contracts and negotiations and all the pandering, all that bullshit, that's what the UFC don't get, because it's under an organisation like the WWE, and that's why it's run so well, and that's why it's so successful. And I get that. It is a very, very successful organisation and very, very popular. But my argument would be is that I think the two sports are running concurrently with each other. I don't think and I think Barry was concerned that a lot of the boxing fans have switched to the UFC. I don't get that. I don't agree with it. I think they are two concurrent businesses or sports, whatever you might want to call them, where you've got the boxing side. I just think the UFC have created a whole new market. They haven't taken the boxing supporters or the boxing fans or enthusiasts. All they've done is create a brand new demographic and are doing very, very well at it. So that's probably one area I didn't agree. Because you look at the weekend, you might have said about the crowds and all that sort of stuff, but hey, 70,000 people at Arlington on Saturday. Now, regardless of what was happening, it was a boxing event. 70,000 people. 70,000 people saw the girls fight as well. I think they said 50 million people watched the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fight. So I understand, and I said that myself yesterday, he's more of an entertainer or performer. It's an event. But still, it was a boxing event that had 70,000 in attendance and 60 million people watching live on Netflix. Now, the UFC obviously had the massive show yesterday. What was it, John Jones? I don't know who he fought, but now that was massive. But I think when Barry says about, look at the crowds and look at the numbers on TV and all that sort of stuff, it's no different to boxing. Now, those big events the UFC put on, of course, they're massive. They're just as big as a Canelo fight or whatever it might be. They're massive. Sold out arenas, 1 million pay-per-view buys, all that sort of stuff. But that's for the massive events. What about the smaller events around the country and around the world? The MMA things they put on and those smaller UFC shows, no different to a small boxing show that we have. So, and then if you look at when the boxing events are on, the Usyks and Furies, the Canelos and the Crawfords and all these types of guys, when they're fighting, they're just massive, especially say a Canelo event. they are huge, and they far outweigh UFC as far as numbers and dollars earned and the fighters' purses, all that sort of stuff doesn't come close to boxing still. So I'm not trying to clap back, as Oscar would say, at the UFC, but I'm just saying I don't think the UFC have taken anything away from boxing whatsoever. Okay, we give ourselves the occasional black eye like we did on the weekend, but geez, it's an awful lot of people still watching boxing, regardless of, you know, if they're going to be rusted on fans going down the track or casuals, whatever. But just goes to show, when there's a big boxing event in town, that it's like, UFC, just step aside a little bit, boys, because the big brother's coming through. And we've seen it with the massive fights in history, in recent history that is that when there's that big boxing event, UFC is very, very, very quickly forgotten. And again, I'm not laying the boots in the UFC. Dana White and the whole organisation do it so well. They do it so well, and I'm actually envious that the best continue to fight the best every single show, and you've got someone like a Dana White at the helm. I just think he's fantastic for that sport. It's going to be interesting to see what happens the day he steps away, whether it will still have the same get up and go as it has now, the same following. And it was great, by the way, just on the side to see I did see some stuff on Instagram and stuff that Donald Trump in attendance. Now John Jones and his opponent might have got massive receptions, but nothing like the big Don, Donald Trump. So anyway, I'm not getting into that. I've copped enough about that already from very few people. The majority think it's fantastic. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. Just quickly on the other fights, of course, we've got to speak about now the main event yesterday, Zurdo Ramirez with a 12-round decision over Chris Billam-Smith. Now, I thought very impressive performance by Ramirez. I think Billam-Smith was exposed slightly. He's probably the fighter we thought he was. Just limited. Good, tough, honest fighter. But as far as being that real elite type of fighter that could maybe give Ramirez and Opetaia and they're the two champions now, aren't they? You know, a good fight. That he's a little bit short. And I think Jai Opetaia would have made absolute mincemeat of him. As for Ramirez, now make no mistake, that's a tough fight for Jai. It really is. But from what I saw yesterday, this is not the super middleweight or light heavyweight version of Ramirez, by the way. The cruiserweight version is a little bit slower, a little bit heavier. Well, he's obviously heavier, but I mean, as far as his body goes, he looks obviously a lot thicker carrying that extra weight. As good as he looked against Billam-Smith, who was pretty much just someone just walking up to him, allowing Ramirez to really pot shot him and really, pick his punches and not really have much quality coming back at him. I could picture Jai in there with him, and I just don't think he's going to have those same luxuries. I think Jai's a lot quicker. I think he punches a lot harder. I think his footwork will be a little bit too good for Ramirez, and I liken it to what I think the Breeders fights were. Now, the Breeders and Ramirez are different type of fighters, but that's the type of fight I think we'll get. I think you would see Jai Opetaia really dominate early, get off to a really good lead, but then I think you would see Ramirez hanging tough the whole fight, and he would give Jai some nervous moments later in the fight. And maybe it might even hurt Jai a couple of times, I don't know, but I just think that Jai Opetaia overall would beat Ramirez quite comfortably. I think he would win, I don't know, 9-3, 8-4, something like that. I just think from what I saw yesterday, as impressive as Ramirez was, that wasn't Jai Opetaia standing in front of him, and he had a custom-made fighter. Just hang on there, matey, got a car coming. He had a custom-made type of guy in front of him yesterday who made him look, well, just made it a lot easier for him as far as picking his punches and everything. So let's hope we get it. And I'm really glad that he actually won, though, because I think the possibility now is there that we might actually get a unification fight for Jai against Ramirez. On the undercard, I didn't see it all. Was it Ramirez over? No, Barboza. Good fight. I thought Farmer and Zapata. Zapata. Look, a little bit like, who was it? A few weeks back. Ennis. was slightly exposed a little bit in his performance. I think Zepeda was a little bit the same yesterday, but I just think he came up against a quality opponent and was just exposed just slightly. Remember, at that level, you can't just bulldoze everyone. So I've got no issue with it. I thought the decision was right. I thought Zepeda won a close decision. But yeah, he did struggle a little bit at stages. And look, maybe it was just Farmer just turned back the clock a little bit. I don't know. But I think that, yeah, I'm not sort of writing Zepeda off. Yeah, okay, if he maybe come up against a Shakur Stevens who fights very similar to Tevin Farmer. I was going to call him Devon. You know, he's a better version of Farmer is Stevenson. But I just think, yeah, I just think the fact that Zepeda's had a lot of easier fights lately and bulldozed most of his guys, I just think he was probably just taken aback a little bit by a guy who wasn't easily bombed out of there and maybe just struggled a little bit, as he hadn't had a lot of rounds lately either, so maybe that had a lot to do with it as well. But I just think, yeah, look, a workmanlike performance. I think we'll see a better version of him against Stevenson. But yeah, a good morning of fights. And was it this week we have the Paulo Alcuso fight. For some reason, I thought it was going to be on the weekend. We, of course, did the preview last week, but I thought that was going to be of course, it's on Wednesday night on Stan, and I think maybe Gem. But so keep a lookout for that one. But yeah, look, really good weekend of boxing. Didn't get a lot done, you know, especially with the Pearl Jam concert on Saturday night as well. So it was a very, very lazy weekend. So just a heads up, tomorrow there will be no walking boxing. I've got to be on the road really early in the morning, so I'm not going to have a chance to take Neil for a walk. My wife Tara will probably take him, or my son. Maybe they can do walking boxing, I don't know. but yeah, it'll be the first time I haven't done one in a while. And then I'm heading overseas on Wednesday, but not till Wednesday night. So we'll do an episode that morning with a final video, and I will actually be doing I will be doing vlogs while I'm away as well. While I'm on holiday. So guys, that is it for today. Have a great Monday, and we'll catch you later.